Hi everybody. Today I just wanted to speak to you about your sleeve when you're working with your dress kit bodice blueprint. I'm getting a lot of questions regarding the ease on the sleeve, that people are saying they've got too much ease in the sleeve. And I found it now, this is now specifically a question that came up in my online class that we're doing in the closed group, but I am also getting it with my other ladies that's busy drafting their sleeves. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do a combined video that I can put on the group for you, and then also one that I can just go and put on my YouTube and on my Chef Design South Africa, just so that all of you can just get a bit more information about the sleeves. Now, it's very important if we're working with the sleeve to have the correct sleeve, let's say sleeve ease. Now, on a bodice blueprint, we're wanting about, they say 2.5 centimeters, which is an inch, okay? So on your back, it's usually on the back armhole or the cap of the back sleeve, it's usually about an ease of 1.3 to 1.6, and on the front, the ease must be about 1 to 1.3. Now, that's if I'm doing my shirts. Obviously, if I am working with jackets, it can be a little bit more than that. But we can't carry on designing if my bodice blueprint isn't correct. So this is something you should sort out in the first stage when you're doing your fitting, so that when you start designing, you don't get this issue happening all the time, because then you know already I'm working from a fitted sleeve, and then any alterations that I am going to need after that, if I'm doing jackets or anything like that, will be minimum that we're going to have to do. So we are doing our denim jacket on our online course, which is going to be the denim bodice, or the bodice part is denim fabric, and we're doing the sleeves in a French terry knit, so which is softer. We did take out the dart of the sleeve. We didn't use the stretch. Sorry, I'm just thinking we didn't use the stretch sleeve. I just showed you guys how to remove the dart from the woven, because it is a jacket and I still wanted a little bit of easing in, where if we worked with the stretch sleeve, there isn't really ease onto your on the sleeve area, on that sleeve cap. But one question came up that was asked this week, where a lady mentioned, and she said she's got too much ease. I can't remember, I haven't got the question in front of me now, but I think it was about, you said you've got about 4.5 centimeter ease on the back, and you've also got more on the front. So that is really not going to work for us. That means you've got to gather in too much, and you're going to sew in all these gathers into the sleeve. We want a smooth sleeve at the end of the day. So please first things first, go to the Schufer Designs Learning Center. Go look for Glenda's article. It is called Sleeves and All Their Quirkiness. I'm going to show it to you just now. And just go download that for you, because she gives you some sleeve information. And in there, she specifically also mentions to you what is the factors that can influence your sleeve fit. She mentions that ease that I've just mentioned to you, which is your 1.3 to 1.6 centimeters on the back. And then also the easing that we need for the front is 1 to 1.3 centimeters. So go look at that. And then also on the same one, and I'm going to show you now when I'm going to zoom into my pattern piece, but I just wanted to turn here, where she also shows you, she's got the diagrams, but one point that is very important that she made here, and I'm going to read it. She said, whether you need to add or subtract cap ease, you can change the height of the cap, increase or decrease the shape of the cap curves, or change the width of the bicep as well. So what can happen if we are drafting our pattern is that your curves are not correct, okay? And that is going to either add extra ease for us, it's adding extra length, or it can be too fat and I don't have enough ease in there. So all of those factors are going to change it. Now, if we start talking about, you can just drop the cap height a bit or just lengthen it a bit. Remember, you've got to take in consideration where I'm going to turn, where I did my bicep measurement, and it's usually just a little bit under the underarm. You would have done your bicep measurement. And from that measurement, put an elastic there for yourself. And this would have been your initial measuring, where you also still had your tape and we measured where was that shoulder point. So you want to, wherever that is, you want to measure up to the shoulder point, and that is going to be your cap height. So always make a note for yourself of that, because I can't go drop so much that my cap height is incorrect, but I can't have it too much either. So that's also going to help me decide, am I going to drop that cap? Can I drop it a little bit, or must I lift it a little bit instead of just changing the curve? So all of that is playing hand in hand with how to do the alterations on your sleeve. So I'm just going to zoom in here now for you guys on my pattern pieces that I've drafted. Okay, so I just wanted to show you. So this was the one that I spoke about. Where's the front part? This is the one that you can go download from. I can't remember if it was on Glenda's blog or if it's in the Learning Center, but go and have a look. I'll look for it and I'll put a link on there as well. But can you see, wherever I've done my measurement for my arm, I've also got to go and I've got to make sure when I measure to there that that cap height is going to work with my cap height that I've got here. So you will see I've gone and I've drawn a line across from underarm to underarm point on my pattern, and I just extended this, and this grey line, it will take it right through my notch where it's going to be sewn onto my sleeve, my shoulder seam. All right, so you've got to know more or less what cap height you're going to need there if you're going to do this alteration. Now, like I mentioned, what's going to happen if I measure this allowance or this measurement from underarm to there, whatever I'm going to get there, if I go and measure from here to here, I'm going to need this amount plus my 1.3 or my 1.6. Remember, it's between 1.3 and 1.6. Altogether, for the whole sleeve, we are going to need about 2.5 centimeters, which is an inch for those ladies that's working in inches. But how it works now, and I'm going to just move this down to show you. You are going to measure for me. Now, usually this part of your underarm does not get gathered. Can you see there? So these two would fit in. So if I'm putting my pattern piece together and I'm running it, oops, there I've gone off a little bit. Let's just point it there, and I'm just doing that. Can you see my notches should be on the same position? So make sure your notches are on the same position. And usually where you know you've got your notches on your master pattern, but sometimes I found ladies don't do the notches, or they've done so many changes that the notches is incorrect. But usually, can you see this curve is going one way? And I'm just going to take my ruler. So this curve is going one way, and usually where I will be flipping again to do the other curve, that is usually where my notch is. Now, if I'm going to need to ease in, remember, I'm easing in from my notch all the way around to my notch over there. I don't ease in from there to there. These two parts under the arm must sew smoothly in to this area, into this area on the front and the back to the notch. So I would always go double check, and I would make sure if I'm running this that I am on the notch there, and if I had to do it on that side, you will see it's the same. So I would measure that, and I would measure that, and I would make sure that was 6 centimeters, that I've got my 6 centimeters there, and I've got my, I had 6.3 there, I will make sure I'm 6.3 there. Now the rest of this I'm going to measure. So from here where I need to ease in, I'm going to measure from my notch. I'm going to measure all the way up, and I've got 14.5 there, and I measured all the way up. I worked from this bottom notch there. I worked because I measured it so that it's 6 there. So from there all the way up is 15.5. Now I did, this is my blueprint, the top. I actually had to do a forward shoulder adjustment. I didn't do the shoulder adjustment here because I wanted my measurements to be off a little bit. But if I did my 1.5 centimeter forward shoulder, it means that I would have had to do a 1.5 centimeter forward adjustment, because with my forward shoulder, what I've actually done, I had to move this up. So if it was 1 centimeter, I would have had to extend 1, draw it back from there into there, and whatever I added there, I would take off there. So in effect, you'll see I lengthened my armhole, and because I went forward, I shortened my armhole. And I've also got to then do it on this section, because all this must be balanced. Now, I didn't go and do this because I wanted mine to be off a little bit so that I can speak you through how to do the changes. All right, so I'm looking at my back first. So from the notch to there, I've got 15.5. Here I've got 16.5. So let's say I want to add my 1/2 centimeter or my 6 millimeters on there. I can go do it. And this is where Glenda also mentions in there that you can either drop the cap a little bit, and I'm just doing a faint line here because I'll go draw with a Koki now. You can drop, or if I need it more, I can add up as well there. All right, and then you're going in. But I want you to be more accurate now for me because we've got measurements. We've calculated. So I'm just going to imagine and say, okay, this is 16.5. Let's just say, let's for argument's sake say I had 14 here. Okay, so that would give me 2.5 centimeter ease from here to there, which is way too much. I know I need 14 plus 1.6 at the most. So let's round it off to 1.5. So I need 15.5. Okay, I'm writing upside down here. I've measured it 16.5. I want to remove 1 centimeter. Now, some of you have told me, oh, I've got about 4 centimeters. So that means that you've actually got to go and take off 2.5 centimeters. All right. So that means you always want to work on this one, this measurement plus ease. So I know it's 15.5. If it was more, that would mean I had to remove more. That would just change that number there. Okay, so what are you going to do? And I love doing working with my flexible curve. But how you would have measured it, there's 2 ways. You can run your tape measure, and I just want to grab my tape measure here. Sorry. You can go and you can run your tape measure. And you could have measured up to there, and then from there, you actually need another measurement. But I find with a tape measure, it sometimes, can you see, even if it's straight, it's almost like if it's straight, can you see it almost makes a bit of a curve. So I don't get it as accurately. So you can then, what we say, walk the pattern. So that's another method where I would put my pattern piece down, and I would walk it all the way to see if I'm walking it like that. Oops, let's go there. I'm walking it. Just want to move my stuff out of the way. So I'm getting about there. So I can go measure that and see that is the ease that needs to be added. So now let's say I've measured up to there. So that is the ease, which is way too much. I've got to remove it. And then my other way, as I said, that's the easy way. But if you do have this flexible curve, and I use the flexible curve to do changes on my curves. Again, it's got my centimeters, and it's got it on both sides. Okay, so it's a bit more sturdy than the tape measure. So I can go and I'm putting it on my curve, and as I'm running it on my curve, because it's flexible, I can bend it and I just push it down, and I can go see what's the measurement. All right, so we're imagining now that I have to remove 1 centimeter. And remember, I'm removing it. Now I need a Koki to show you guys. This is always sewn in flat. This part is sewn in flat. So I don't want to go change there unless it's quite a big change. Then I might have to just curve it a little bit more, but I'll still try and keep it 6 centimeters. So my notches might move a little bit because that's got to work in with the bottom of my bodice. So now I'm going to work from this part, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to work from there. And I know that I must get 15.5 instead of 16.5. So all I'm going to do, I'm taking my curve and I'm working with it. So as I'm working and I'm turning it, I'm basically staying on my edge. Sorry, I'll try and do it from this side so you can see. Where's my 0? Can you see I'm staying on the edge, and I'm staying on the edge there. So I've got to just look over. I've got, okay, 15.5 there. See, my pattern isn't so wrong, so it's difficult to tell you. Let's go just choose a number here. Let's say I need it to be 14. All right, because you guys have got too much ease now. So I'm going to put it down. Can you see where's my 14? So as I've put this on my notch and I'm doing that, I can see my 14 is short. So now I have to start changing. So I can either just change the curve in and flatten the curve a little bit. So let's go from there. I can just go and play with this one a little bit, flatten that curve, and almost go back. Where are we now? Sorry, I've got to work it from my side. I really can't see on your side, so I've got to work it on my side where I can look. So I'm getting 15 and a half there. So I need maybe 14 and a half. So all I'm going to do, I can maneuver this curve a little bit from my notch till I get 14 and a half. So there we go. And I'm just having to drop it that little bit. So I'm just going to drop it a little bit. Okay, so I'm just making my mark there, and I'm just going on my curve, just a slight line for myself. So I can drop it there, or as I said, I can even keep it there and then take the curve in to flatten this curve. So you've got to go play with it and look. If I had to drop it, because it was quite a big amount, I mean for this lady it's 4 centimeters, make sure that you measure your cap and take it according to your measurement that you measured on your body, and you cannot be less. Okay, you can be more, but you cannot be less, because then I'm going to get drag lines. So it might happen that you just drop a little bit, and yeah, I'm just going to draw a line for us now. So let's say with that 14 and a half we came to about there. Just go back with your ruler. You would have drawn a faint line. Sorry guys, I'm working upside down here to see this, but just to be able to show you. And I'm going to go, and I'm just playing with my curve till I get to where I need it to be. There we go. Okay, so can you see I've just flattened a little bit. If it needs more, you might have to, and I'm going to tell you this, I don't want you to drop too much or go up too much. You might just have to change this curve as well, and just curve a little bit more so that I'm there. Go measure your 6 centimeters. Make sure your knot might have changed, and from there I can flatten the curve a little bit more. I'm just drawing it very roughly. All right. So again, this might be wrong, so I might want to go and curve it like that. You're going to be working in your pencil. So you're going to perfect it till you've got that measurement right. So let's just go back to that one. Can you see? All right. So there I've got my line, and I just had to change that. So go play with this measurement. This from this notch to there must always be the same as the borders. And this curve is the one that's going to change to bring in the easing that you need, so that you are balanced. Remember, from there to there, it's 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch all the way around. It's not 2.5 here, 2.5 there. And that 2.5 can be broken into 1.3 to 1.6 or 1 centimeters to 1.3. If you're over a couple of millimeters, that is not an issue. So please, this is how you're going to do. You've got to change this curve to actually increase or decrease the amount of ease that you've got on there. So please go back to your pattern pieces and go do this exercise, and make sure, as I said, and I'm going to stress it, make sure that if you had to drop or you had to increase a little bit, because that was one of the things that Linda said there, you can either drop a bit or go up a bit and go back in, or you can flatten this curve or bring this curve out a little bit if you need to add ease. This part, please don't play too much and go too short over there. All right, so this is one of your major measuring points that we need to do. And whatever you're going to do there, you're doing on this side, and you will just smooth your curves, because obviously when you've drafted your pattern, if your ease is wrong, that means the curve from here to here is wrong, and that is where we've got to change it. That is going to be your best bet for me to actually do this alteration, and it works more or less in line with, like I said, what Glenda put over there, where she said you can decrease or increase the curve, you can drop it a bit or lift it a bit, but the amount you need to do is balanced. You have to do your little sums and take whatever was my amount from notch to there and add 1 centimeter because this is the front. So let's say I'm going to add 1 centimeter. So I've got to make sure 15.5. Look what's happened because I didn't do my forward shoulder here. I've got 17.3. I should be 15.5. So I will have to definitely, I know I didn't move this, but if it was a situation where it wasn't a forward shoulder, I would have to go change this curve to get less measurement here, so I've got less easing to do in. The worst thing is to have too much ease and to try and get it into your armhole. And the main factor is why, and I didn't mention it to you, but the main factor is, I'm just going to move this around so you can see. We have worked and we've perfected our bodice pieces. So I might have, when I've worked with this, I might have scooped in a little bit. I might have added width to there. So, but now my bodice is fitting perfect. I really don't want to change here. It's my sleeve that's the issue. So the sleeve has got to be adjusted so that the sleeve measurements will work with whatever I've got on there. Because some of you might have even dropped your underarm a little bit. Whatever changes you needed to do to get that perfect fit, this is the main one. And from here, I will say 14.5 plus 1. So my sleeve cap for the easing must be 15.5. This one, okay, there was 15.5. I wanted to add 1.5. So that's going to give me 17. So I know what measurements I'm working with. And with using that curve, that is going to help me determine so I get that 17 centimeters or that 15 centimeters. Don't just go guess and start drawing lines however you want to. So I am going to recommend, really, some people will have other French curves as well. You can really go and play with the French curve, but you're never going to know how much I've got to go in or anything like that. So for me, just do this as an add-on. I use it for my necklines. I use it for everything because it is so flexible. So get yourself something like that. We do stock it on our Shoe for Design South Africa online shop. And I do have it in my Bernina shop as well. But remember, we've done the fitting here. I've got my standard sleeve and I'm stressing it. I'm keep on repeating it because this is important. I've already drawn the basic sleeve as it is on my Shoe for Designs. But now I've done alterations here. So that means whatever I change there, I've just got to go tweak it here to get that perfect fit. All right. Don't try and go back and change here because then you're going to mess up your fit again on your bodice. I already have this perfected. This now must be perfected. So please, please, please go. Remember, ease is between notch to shoulder point, notch to shoulder point. And that is your measurements that you're using from here and from there, from the notches to shoulder point, plus for the front 1 to 1.3 centimeters on that measurement. And on this one, 1.3 to 1.6. You want to add up with a total of 2.5 centimeters more or less. And I'm saying more or less, you can be a little bit more and a little bit less. So that is what I want you to go and do with your sleeve changes. Okay, so those are the checkpoints that I want you to go and do, and that is the alteration that you're going to do for me on your sleeve. You have to stay within that ease allowance that we want on our sleeve. Please don't go and do it more. I see some sleeves that's worked on that is not looking so good. One thing that I am finding a lot, and it's especially on the back sleeves, and that has just got to do with that curve of the cap. It must just be flattened a little bit. Is that on the back here, where it goes in there, your sleeve isn't smooth. It's almost like it's making a little bubble standing out on the sleeve, meaning there's just too much of the sleeve where it's going into the armhole. So by doing this alteration I've shown you, where you actually take that measurement and you just move that curve a little bit, you are already removing that excess of that sleeve there that we don't need, that is actually causing that ugly, it's really like a bubble just from there to there where the sleeve is standing out, like a little bit of a ridge. And it's got nothing to do with your back width because we perfected the back width before we even put the sleeve on. So that way I've actually, you can see I've dropped the line a little bit and recurved it. That is also going to remove that excess there that we're going to need. So go play with your sleeves, work in pencil because you are going to have to tweak. You are going to measure and then say, it's not looking, and that's the thing, you've got to see if it's looking wrong, most probably it's wrong. You've been sewing now, you know what a sleeve pattern looks like. So make sure your lines are smooth and just go make sure and look at it. And if it's slightly off and you think, oh, I just want to improve a bit, go and draw it again and erase your other line. That's why we're working with our vellum and our pencils. So, but that is what I think the information that you needed. I've been really having sleepless nights sometimes about sleeves, because most of the fitting questions that I do get at the moment has got to do with the sleeve ease. So that's why I decided, let's do this video, and I've tried to work it through my mind the easiest way to let you work as accurately as possible. That's why I'm letting you measure and doing that little sum and adding that ease on to whatever the armhole was, so that you don't have to do guessing. I don't want you to do guessing, because then we end up maybe with other issues. So stay accurate with that ease measurements. It is on that sleeves and their quirkiness that where it tells you how much ease on the back, how much ease on the front, and work within those parameters that you know is going to fit your bodice at the end of the day. So please go do this for me. If you've got any questions, especially my ladies on the closed group where we are doing the jacket design, post your questions there for me. I will answer it again for you. But go back, those ladies that's doing your jackets, go back to your original bodice sloper before we turned it into our jacket sloper, and go make sure that your ease allowance on your sleeve cap is correct and fitting in with your bodice that you've drafted.